This is Native Dreams by Rose Windows on the Polynation broadcast. There's a guest in the greenhouse today. She's in the Luna Lounge. I'll play a song from them in a bit. Luna's here today. We're gonna talk about stuff. Stay tuned. GroundZeroPlus.com. GroundZeroPlus.com Polynation broadcast. It's a live broadcast. Wait, I'll keep that song for later. Today in the greenhouse we have a guest. If you're a long-time listener, you may have heard this guest before. We're going to see if this works here. Because, sometimes we're on the opposite side of the world. So sometimes things don't work as efficiently as they should, but I'm pretty sure our guest Luna's gonna be here. Oh, you know what? There's that familiar ring. It has to go all the way around the world to the other side, and then it's almost there. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, Luna.
Oh, you can hear me. Yay.
Yeah, I can hear you. We can all hear you.
Hey, good day, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
It's so good to have you back in the greenhouse.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about. I mean, we have something that we want to talk about, but there's so much going on in the world right now. I wanted to get your perspective because you're on the opposite side of the planet or other side of the disc, whatever you believe. You get fed different media, you get fed different narratives. A lot of times, people have said Australia, it gets used for like a testing ground, like remember back in the COVID days. So it's been a weird start to the year. There's been a lot of shootings. It seems like things are focused around shootings, and there was one in Australia. That was horrible, right before the new year. I want to see if there's anything different from your perspective of that than what Australia is kind of considered Western, even though it's not geographically Western. It's kind of considered Western, but I feel like they have a different perspective on things because of the geography. They're isolated. They're separated. They're so what I mean. We're off to a rough start this year too.
Yeah, true. Hopefully it'll get better. They reckon it can only get so bad and then you go up, right?
Right. So, I mean, this is what I heard, and I wanted to get I didn't want to ask anyone other than somebody that I know who lives there. And okay. You're the only person I know who lives there that I trust. I mean, I know people who live there, but I don't trust them to give me just an honest answer about a while ago. I mean, probably a decade ago or more, Australia did this whole gun control thing where they did a buyback program, right?
Yeah, that was after the Port Arthur massacre, which was actually in Tasmania, which is not attached to Australia. We're separated by a strait of water. So Aussies will tell you that we own them like they're part of us, but they're not. So it happened all the way down there, and that's a sleepy little island, because it's only a small island. Sleepy little island, not much goes on. And because it happened so long ago, you get feedback after a while. Now, the fellas that were in jail when they put that guy that presumably did that shooting, the young fella, when he went to jail, the fellas in jail asked him about it because the fellas in jail were all there because armed robbery and all sorts of things, right? So they asked him about it, and their feedback was that guy didn't have the mentality to shoot anybody. He shouldn't have even been in jail. And when they asked him what happened, he goes, I don't know. I was eating breakfast and that's all I remember. and like because it's years later, all this stuff comes out, right? So that was then. Yeah, they made us sell our guns, and people did it. Um, and back then, you got to remember, we were the nobodies in the world. Like no one wanted to come to Australia. There was nothing here really. You know, there wasn't a lot of things at all. Um, I actually liked it back then. No offense to anybody, but it was good when no one knew we existed.
Right.
um,
You've been in
yeah, so
Australia your whole life, right?
yeah, I was born here.
Yeah.
Um,
So you've got a
my mother's
perspective
Indigenous.
that it like you've been there the whole time. You've got a perspective. You know what it was like back when you were a kid. Like it wasn't like this. Um,
No,
so they bought back all the guns, but you know what? Proof in the pudding. What happened just before the New Year at the Bondi shooting? It didn't seem to work, did it?
no, it didn't. And you know what, Polly? If you once they brought back the guns, they said okay, because some places like in the country and that, and people know if you live on land and that, you need a gun, right? And then there's the sport people that like shooting and stuff. So what they did is they went, okay, if you want a gun, you have to register it. You have to go to the shooting range so many times a month. You have to pay this, and you have to have checks in your house to make sure the guns are stored appropriately, right? Now, these are regular things. So these fellas, they would have known that they had these guns and everything. Because to keep a gun now, you've got to crawl backwards on glass to fucking keep it. Just sorry, I'm getting all passionate now.
No worries. No worries. We don't got a censor here. It's all good.
Yeah.
Just don't break the glass in the greenhouse. We're good.
So yeah, so to have a gun, and I know all sorts of people that have them, and this is what they got to do to keep it, okay? And we're talking about everyone from an ordinary Joe Blow on the street to high up people like solicitors and doctors and stuff like that. They have guns also. So anyway, to keep the gun, you got to crawl over cut glass basically. So how come these fellas had all that kind of weaponry? And you got to say, like, they're not going to let you keep a machine gun, right? Because there's no use for it. They'll let you keep a little firearm and probably a rifle or something, right? So how did they end up with them guns? And the things we've heard. So I'll just want to backpedal a bit. We'll go to the Bondi. I
Yeah.
just want to backpedal because 1 month prior to the Bondi shooting, I was actually at Bondi with the aunties, and we went there for lunch. So, and the aunties are all Aboriginal aunties, okay? I'll just let everyone know because my mum is Indigenous woman, Australian Aboriginal, so that makes me one. So all of me, and we call them aunties because they're like family. Anyway, we all jumped on a bus, went down to Bondi, thought this is going to be great. We'll have lunch, look at the ocean. Gee, Polly, I got there. The first thing, the ocean was flat. We don't have flat oceans. It's all wavy. You know, the waves will knock you down. You never turn your back on them. Anyway, the ocean's flat. I'm thinking there's something wrong here. I'm saying, Arnie's, there's something wrong here. The air, the feeling in the air, the frequency was so low, I didn't want to be there. And I said to the Arnies, if it wasn't for you fellas being here, I'd be going home right now. But anyway, we had a good time with them, and we eventually left. I remember coming home and telling everyone, gee, it felt really weird there. Now I've been going there all my life, remember, because I'm born here, so I know what it should feel like. Anyway, I was scratching my head thinking, why did I feel that feeling? That was really unusual. Never really felt that before. 1 month later, we got the shooting, and you know what I realised? I was feeling the setup. It was planned, man, I'm telling you. My spider senses tell me it was planned because I was actually there and I felt it in the air. I felt, I couldn't even describe the proper feeling, just it was a low frequency.
So it
So,
does smell fishy, definitely.
yeah,
Um,
yes, it does.
so I've heard from other Australian sources on like YouTube or the internet that they knew about. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that you said you went there a month before, because that's when they actually started investigating. I can't remember the word they used for them, but they were like plants. They were gonna come in and cause dissonance, and
Right.
and they wanted. I heard that they wanted the guy, because there was this one guy who like ran out and grabbed one of the dudes with the gun, and stole his gun, right? And everybody
Yeah.
wanted that guy to be like a Christian white dude. but it turns out he was a Muslim as well.
Yeah.
So
So they tell us, yeah.
what is the racial tension like in Australia right
Oh,
now?
look, Polly, I'm struggling a little bit because this is my home,
Right.
and up until now, like I've watched since I was a little girl. There used to be a German girl and a couple of girls of different nationalities. I'd pass their house on the way to school, and I used to want to pick them up, but everybody would stay away from them because they were different nationalities. But that was all right. They never pushed their culture or anything on anyone. They ended up blending in. And that's how it's supposed to be here. But all of a sudden, that's not happening. Everyone's pissed off. And for someone like me, it was very tricky because I realised I was getting caught up in the propaganda. Like, we're supposed to not like these people. And I'm thinking, all right, how am I going to approach this? Because I don't really like them, to be honest. Because this is a matriarchal country. I'm looking from a native perspective, right?
Yeah.
This is a matriarchal country, and when I walk past women that are being oppressed, it freaks me right out. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the other day I was down the park, and there's a Muslim lady praying, all covered up. And it was a bloody hot day, and I gave for my normal walk, and I saw it, and I thought, no, this is wrong. What can I do? And I thought, no, I don't want to do anything deliberate because the poor girl hasn't done nothing wrong, and it's not her fault that she's suppressed under all these things, I felt like running up there and going, take that off, girl. This is a matriarchal country. You should be covering the men up.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I thought the whole reason why you left a country that you left is so that oppression would be lifted, but yet you bring the same oppression with you.
Yeah. And at first, I was hearing all this propaganda after the shooting, and I'm thinking, oh, wow. And I didn't realise we had that many, what's the other mob they fight against? So I don't even know who's the fucking enemy.
Yeah, that's
the Jewish mob,
2026.
right? Yeah, I didn't even know we had that many Jewish people until the shooting, and they were all gathered together. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, there's the Mossad connection too that I've heard rumors of. That Mossad was already there.
Whoever that is.
Mossad
Honestly,
is
yeah.
like the Israeli version of the CIA.
Oh, I get you. I get you. That's how
Right?
much I
So
like
there's the
belly.
whole, like, because it was a Hanukkah thing, there's the whole Jewish angle, which I think that's just adding gasoline to a fire that we have no idea how it started.
Well, what
It's
I figured when I saw so many Jewish people gathered together, and they don't impress their culture on us, like so much so that I didn't even realise there was that many of them, right? But then I realised, oh, we're actually in Jewish occupied country, right?
yeah. I think
That's
they're
what I realised.
everywhere.
Oh, okay, yeah. They're here, and they're holding their ground, obviously. Um, and because of the way we live today, in such suspicion of everyone doing the wrong thing, how do we know they didn't do it to themselves? And they paid them fellas. We don't know that.
Yeah, you don't exactly. You don't. I mean,
It's a possibility.
it
Um,
kind of ties in a little bit. I mean, I'm sure there'll be instances where when we talk about what we're actually here to talk about today, which I think is way more fun, but interesting to get your perspective on this, because also, like, shortly after that shooting, there was there was another shooting that's taking the news by storm, even though only one person died, and that's the one that happened in Minnesota. Did you hear about that?
I heard something. I don't actually. Can you clarify that for me? Because
So
no,
there's been a ton of shootings lately. There's the
right.
Brown University one. There's the Minnesota one. I'm probably forgetting two or three. They probably don't even report them all, but it
Yeah.
seems like people just want to shoot people for some reason. One guy was a nuclear fission scientist, who it was the same guy that did the Brown shooting. Also went like somewhere else and killed a scientist, just randomly, I guess. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what they're saying. Well, just randomly, like he had a mental illness. Like, okay,
Okay.
we're gonna blame everything on mental illness now. Uh, but if you look at
But what,
everything as a whole, like the whole gun shooting thing, as just like one template of how to get people to argue about stuff,
yeah.
they're cranking that up to 11 this
Oh,
year already.
yeah, they are. You don't know who to trust now. Like when I went to the park that day, I didn't know what to trust. I'm thinking, wow, you're on my bloody doorstep. Do I trust you? Are you going to turn up? Are your men going to turn up in the middle of the night like you don't know. They're going to bomb us. Who knows?
Right.
But you know what? They had the police surrounding their mosque when they were praying, and I'm thinking, okay, who are you there to protect them or to keep us away? Like, what the hell's going on? It is madness, total madness. Um, and you can't believe what they say. It's like propaganda. That's what I realised. They're wanting us to hate each other.
Do you have any
And
ideas how to fix this?
well, there's two sides to that. One side is okay, they're out shooting everyone. Okay, everyone, grab your gun, let's go and shoot them.
Well,
And common
that's
sense says that. Hang on, they're doing all this. Is that giving us the okay to go and all get together and we'll shoot them and get rid of them? Because that's the quickest, easiest outcome. Anyway, it's not really proper. The other way, yeah, don't listen to them. Everyone, we all have to band together, people. You, me, your neighbour, even the ones you don't really talk to, we're all on the same side here, and no one's going to save us. Don't expect someone to save you. That is the worst thing ever. We got to save ourselves. Together, we can save ourselves by standing up together and not listening to anything. Like I'm even hearing over here, we hear like news from around the world, and they're projecting that we look at England, and to us it looks like it's taken over by the Muslims and everything. You know what I mean? Canada, to us it looks like it's already been taken over. This is the way they're portraying it. And America's next, and obviously we're on the brink of being next, and that's what they're trying to portray. But in reality, we're actually all doing our everyday stuff. So
right.
we need not to listen to them
And
and talk to each other.
and it's okay. It's people like because I guess I'm similar in a way to you in the fact that like I wasn't born where I live, but I moved here at such an early age that you could pretty much say I was. I mean, if my mom was sitting in a different chair on a different part of the world, I mean, it wouldn't have made a difference because I moved so young. So I was
Yeah, you
born in
grew up.
Canada, and I've seen the same stuff happen here, even though I'm technically an immigrant. Happen to this country that's happening to your country, and the similar gun laws are happening now too. In Canada, they're doing they're trying to do this buyback plan, but the one of the coalitions for Canadian gun owners or something like it's called the CCR or something. I can't remember the name of it, but they're like fighting for gun owners' rights, like law-abiding citizens. They just want to
Hmm.
have a gun in case a bear tries to eat them, or
That's right.
someone tries to rob them, or like I mean, it's crazy in Canada. If you shoot somebody that comes in your house, you go to jail.
Yeah, same here.
You
If
can't
someone
do that
breaks into
anymore.
your window, yeah, even if you like say they're breaking in and you break their arm because their arm's through the window, you're the one that's in trouble.
Yeah. When did that change? Because that's
I
not. You know what?
don't know.
I remember.
When we were sleeping,
Aren't there like old fairy tale kid stories that talk about like trying to break into somebody's house or you know what I'm saying? Like, don't 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 mess with the wrong thing or you're gonna get burned.
yeah,
And now it's just all. I mean, I don't even think kids read fairy tales anymore or
no,
old stories. Like, you know what stories I'm talking about,
no,
right? Because that's what we're really going to talk about. And
yeah, that's what we're supposed to talk about. Yeah, hey,
yeah,
no, that's all right.
and I hope we could.
But
I think we could tie it back into a lot of the stuff we're talking about now too, because it's the reason why so many people fall for it is because they're not being taught the same lessons that are actually there in those old stories.
and they've fallen for all the BS. because of that. They don't understand. Yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
It's fascinating to me because, I mean, when you talk to when I've talked to people a lot younger, like 20 years younger than me, um, I'll say, doesn't that remind you of like a story? Like, you
yeah.
know, and they'll be like, no, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you never heard of like Jack and the Beanstalk, or you never
Funny
heard
you
of,
said that.
yeah,
Because
right?
I was just, that was the last one I was researching. I'm thinking, oh, this is a really interesting one. I've got it written in front of me here. And my conclusion to Jack and the Beanstalk was about truth and how things change and what's true then and true now. And I was thinking about all that same stuff you were just talking about. So we'll start with Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yeah, why not? I mean, there's so many stories, but I mean, that's why I just wanted to, you know, get sort of break the ice, I guess, before we got into like the meat and potatoes of what we're gonna do today, because
Yeah,
we haven't talked in so long, and I wanted
no,
to
it's
get your.
fine.
There's been a lot of crazy shootings, so I wanted to get your perspective on it, and
Yeah.
it turns out there are normal people in Australia.
Yeah, yeah, we're not mutants. That's what I said to Sid. We're not mutants, you know. But I'll tell you something, Polly. I feel like I need to arm myself because the behaviour of the men from these other countries
Hmm.
isn't the same behaviour that I'm used to and that I grew up with, and it can feel very intimidating. So I come up with an idea. Um, I'm going to carry a little stick or something, and every time they inappropriately their energy inappropriately engulfs mine, I'm just going to go tap with the stick and look them in the eye and tell them not to be to raise their to say it nice, to raise their frequency.
Right?
But I won't be saying it like that to them. Um, yeah, so yeah, because that's how I feel. I really feel that way. I thought for the first time in my whole life, I feel insecure in my own country to walk around. I don't feel safe with
You're
the
not
men around,
alone. You're not
right?
alone. There's people all over the world, actually, in multiple countries, and I'm not sure what we can do about it. Because
Well, I
like
would
what?
say to the women, arm yourself, women. Don't, you know, women are pretty strong. We might not be physically strong, but we're strong in different ways. Don't. Well, for me, I'm not letting that intimidation intimidate me. So next time I go in public and I see that behaviour, I will act. I won't react. I will act. And that's how I felt. I thought, no, I'm going to walk around feeling safe again. If I have to act like that to do it, like to when they like that, I'm going to do it. Because I would have done it in the pub, having a couple of drinks on a Friday night if someone acted like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because that's Australia. So yeah, I'm just going to take it in public. I don't care. And I think we all should do that. Take your own power back and keep your own energy strong. Don't let them intimidate us because that's what they're relying on.
yeah, because they're carrying around stuff.
Hmm.
They've got knives. They've got guns most of the time. I mean, like, so you're gonna take away all the guns, and then you're gonna let all these criminals come in and do whatever they want, and they have their own guns. And what I mean, I guess going back to the shootings a little bit, I want to ask you something. Do you think if more people in the crowd were allowed to carry around handguns, like concealed carry or even open carry, do you think that as many people would have gotten shot, or do you think some more than one person would have probably pulled out their gun and shot back at this motherfucker?
Probably wouldn't happen because one reaction I found really interesting
Probably
when the
wouldn't have
guy
happened
took
exactly.
yeah when the guy took the rifle off that bloke, even old ladies were saying he should have shot him in the leg. Right, every Aussie was saying that bloke should have shot him in the leg. And every Aussie, young, old, male, female, they're all saying the same thing. So if we carried it, and you don't, there's more sticks and stones will still kill you, Polly.
Yeah,
It
if you
doesn't have
throw
to
them
be a
hard enough,
gun.
yeah.
It doesn't have to be a gun, right? But if everybody had something, and we're like ants, people are like ants. If everyone that was at that beach that day grabbed a stick or a stone or whatever and ran up to them fellas, people would have got hurt still, right? But it wouldn't have, it would have showed people don't fuck with us. Sorry. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm
You know
just
what I'm
because
saying?
it's an argument I've often heard about gun control and overreach of government on that, and because there's been shootings in my city as well, and one guy just randomly started shooting people sitting down eating dinner on a very busy street called the Danforth in Toronto, and I feel like if people were sitting down at dinner and they saw this happening and they had a gun, that they would probably shoot that guy. And then he would have not killed 6 more people or, whatever. Like, but also at the same time, if that's allowed, maybe it'll make people think twice about starting to shoot people randomly for no reason.
Yeah.
Because it won't be possible. There'll be too many normal thinking, critically thinking people that are armed. That'll be like, nope, that guy's pointing the gun the wrong way. I'm gonna shoot him right now.
Yeah. And you know that issue. Well, I'm not a real gun person. Okay.
Me neither.
As far as weaponry goes, I prefer other weapons, but I know holding a gun, it gives you this empowerment. Take that empowerment and take the gun away, but keep the empowerment, and anything can be a weapon. It's the empowerment feeling that is the actual weapon. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's like the one up of every weapon is the gun, right?
Yeah. Because it's a projectile, but that's all. It's just a projectile. But other things can be projectiles, and they can just be this deadly. But it's the person holding it. The energy they have of empowerment, that's what gives them the power over people, right? And if someone stood up in the crowd that didn't have a gun and had that same energy to match the person with the gun, the only difference is the gun.
Right.
Yeah.
And
totally. That's what I'm trying to say, yeah. And people need to empower themselves and stand up again, because we've given our power away too long.
And so, like, disarming a population, what do you think the agenda behind that is?
Control.
Just control? Like, what? I mean, it doesn't seem like it's happening the same way in other countries that don't have strict gun laws. Like, it doesn't seem to bother those countries. There's countries in Europe, and I mean, even states in the U.S. have different gun laws.
Only the countries that obey. That's right. Because some countries tell them, no, we're not going to do that. Are you kidding? Like, you live in a country where there's more bush or more farming, and you actually need, like, if you were in Africa or something, right, there's man-eating animals. Like you said before, there's bears, there's wolves and stuff like that, right? They're not going to give up their guns.
Right.
Because they're giving up their life. So their governments know that it's stupid to even try. And that's what I mean. The people stand strong, they stand together, and they can't do anything.
But
they just say no.
In all these countries, they use the excuse that if they don't have stricter gun laws, then crime is going to go rampant. But yet, when they restrict the gun laws, the crime goes up when they restrict the gun laws. So it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I'm not a gun person either. I see a utility in guns, but I would never point one at a human being. I would only point one at something that was going to kill me. Probably. I mean, I guess if it was a human being, I would. If it was going to kill me, I wouldn't classify it as a human being if it was going to kill me. Let's put it that way. So it was a zombie, Your Honor.
You got to chop their heads off. You got to chop their heads off. See, yeah. There's more things. The guns aren't actually the best weapon. Sometimes you need something else. Because if you run out of bullets, you've got no weapon.
Oh, this was a silver bullet.
Dipped in holy water.
Right, yeah.
But when it comes to gun laws, this is how I see it. If you had a gun, Polly, and I had a gun, and I held my gun at you and I said, you have to give me your gun, we're disarming everybody, you'd turn around and go, well, what about you? Because I'm still got my gun. I can keep my gun, but you're all going to give me your gun.
I'd say,
well, that wouldn't happen.
Tell you what, give me your gun at the same time I give you my gun.
Yeah, and then we've got a gun each anyway. But can you see the madness in it?
And that's how mad it is, I know.
We're going to comply.
Yeah,
we're going to comply, but if it was two people in a room with a gun each, You're not going to comply to that. Doesn't make sense.
Oh, and so
So
many
why do
people
we
did
do it
it.
in society? Yeah.
So many people did
Oh,
it in Australia. There's videos of literal like conveyor belts of
I know.
guns going up into a metal shredder, and they're just all these thousands and thousands of guns that people are like, "Yep."
Yeah, I
It's like
know.
it's the same people that are like, "I'm doing this for climate change." Those those people that
All right. Oh, common sense is really rare these days.
well, the buyback program in Canada, they discovered that the amount of money that has been publicly advocated or sorry allocated for buying back guns in Canada, because they're not taking all guns, they're just taking certain kinds away, and slowly they just keep incrementing it up.
Yeah,
But
right.
they allocated a certain amount of money, and then someone did the math and was like, "But there's this many guns. How are you going to buy them all back with that amount of money? That, look, what are you going to give? You going to give somebody $10 for their gun? Like, what, that
Yeah, and it
does,
costs more to buy
I
a
don't think
gun.
anyone's going to do that. Like, what do you mean? This gun's worth like $700. We'll give you $10 and a Tim Hortons gift card.
And you get a raw deal anyway. Like, come on, people. I remember growing up, when I was a little girl, my mum, what'd she say, like, we're paying the house off. And I'm like, how does that work, mum? She goes, we borrow money off the bank, we buy a house, and then we pay so much back and interest. And I remember saying to her, if a fella on the street gave you that deal, would you take it? And she goes, no, it's a rip-off. I said to her, why would you take it? I couldn't understand why people would take a deal like that if they wouldn't take it off a guy on the street. Do you know what I mean?
Well, there's a reason why it's called a mortgage, right?
But people's thinking we're like an indoctrinated army, you know. We all march together. Well, not all of us, but you know, they all march
Right.
together and believe, and they'll defend it with their lives like an indoctrinated army. But hopefully, people are waking up. I'm hearing that a lot of people are waking up and realizing that they've been fed BS, and that's a good thing. But we now the next step is we need to stand up together because there's unity and community and strength. And it always brings me back to that movie about the ants. Was it the ants or bugs? The one where the locust had everyone held captured, but the locust didn't want them to know there was more
Oh,
of
A
them.
Bug's
And
Life. A Bug's
yeah,
Life, I
that
think.
one.
Yeah,
And
I
it
love that
always
movie.
comes back to that. And
That's
I'm
Kevin
like, come on,
Spacey.
people. Yeah, we
It's
look how many of us there are.
the head locust was Kevin Spacey.
Ah, right, right. Yeah, yeah.
What
So
does
think
that
about
mean?
that.
I don't know what that means, but
Ah, there's what it means. The stars are falling.
right. Oh, you know what? That's crazy because this is also at least the past year, and I imagine one of my predictions for this year is we're going to actually discover there's a lot more things flying around up there than we knew of, which was the comet thing, the Three Eye Atlas, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
still people are talking about it. Um,
It's not a comet.
what? Well, I want. Do you? Yeah, it's not a comet. Okay, well, it doesn't matter what it is. You'd think that Australia would be a good place to observe the sky.
Yeah.
What are the? Have you ever been to any observatories or like? I mean, there's so much open, or I guess I could say less light pollution would be a better way to describe it because you have so much, uninhabited land. If you
Yeah.
wanted to go
Well,
out and see something, it seems like a good place
well,
to do it.
we've got a couple of observatories. There's one up the mountains behind us, a very, very old one that they made in the 1900s. And you got a good point there. And I smell a bit of smelly fishy stuff going on because you're right. If they're so obsessed with looking out there, here's the place to look. But they don't use our observatories for them reasons.
Yeah,
So
you
there's
never.
something not right here, right?
Yeah, for some reason you don't really ever hear about Australian observatories discovering anything, and that's
There
making
you
me
go.
think they are discovering something. What are you guys hiding down there? What's going
Well,
on?
we're all going to find out soon because this is the time of truth, and apocalypse means the time of truth. So, or is it the yeah, whatever that word? Everyone knows that. it's the time of truth, all the truth's coming out. You'll find out. But yeah, they don't use what they got down here for the right reasons. They're using them for other reasons. And it depends what you believe. A lot of what people are going to find out is a lot of the BS that we've been fed, even when it comes to beliefs and stuff like that. And when we talk about fairy tales, that's where it comes out. Like, you'll see in the fairy tales how the beliefs have changed, and sometimes even the wording to give us what we have today that we all go along with happily thinking that's the truth. So we're going to find out a lot of things, I think, in the next coming years.
Yeah, okay. So, okay, here's what we'll do to cleanse everybody's palate, because to be honest, I didn't intend on talking to you about all this stuff for this long.
Yeah, that was a heavy meal.
But I'm glad we did. And we can always come back to these fairy tales if we want to dissect them one at a time. So let's take a little break, like a 10-minute break or something like that. So I can get a refill, maybe spin one up. If you have to use the little girls' room or whatever, but we'll fill it with tunes. Don't worry, folks. It's a Polynation broadcast. The greenhouse always has music, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about what we planned on talking about, which is the somewhat twisted and dark origins of fairy tales, and why the result of them being ignored or taken out of the general, sort of lexicon of children's stories has made us weaker and more vulnerable. That's just an opinion, but soak on that for a bit. We'll be right back at Polynation Broadcast, groundzeroplus.com. Here's Keep Your Nose Clean by Ex Magician.
Paradise for a thread. asphalt was a lake, and the sand it was a grayish shade of blue. Spirits held desire while eyes they did admire the evening that we only thought we knew. In the air to my ears, the sun was rising, slinking though the day was settled up to go. The desert's lonely nightfall disappeared. The raven who flies through the desert sky is wiser than you or me. The birds have a peace, the stillness of sleep, and the desert raven, he has poetry. Close your eyes and fly, and let the diamonds make the night. Crystal blue will turn to ruby red. The plants become a maze under the heaven's starry haze. Oh, Pegasus, he gallops overhead. The river's edge while saffron slowly grows inside the caves. The starry minds of hyacinth, the moon below the sun's eclipse. The sandy canyon floats beyond the waves. The raven who flies through the desert sky is wiser than you or me. Birds have a peace, a stillness of sleep, and the desert raven, he has poetry.
Ollie Nation broadcast, groundzeroplus.com. If you're a member, and remember, if you're not a member and still listening, that's still awesome. But if you are a member, you can... Hang on a minute. There we go. That's what... Yeah, okay. There. Now, okay. So what I was saying, if you are a member, you can click on the members content. It drops down a menu. Click on chat rooms. That's where all the cool kids are hanging out right now. And that's what I call the greenhouse. And much love is being given in the greenhouse to my guest today, even though we haven't even started talking about what we're supposed to talk about or what we planned on. And that's Luna. She's here with us in the greenhouse. She's currently muted, but maybe she...
There we go.
Oh, there you go. Yep, there you go. So
I'm here.
What we really wanted to talk about today, and I think it can tie into so many things that's going on in the world right now. But we wanted to talk about like the old stories, fables, fairy tales, stories that I won't want to say they like teach lessons, but they kind of do. And they're lessons that I think if you don't know these lessons, you don't have a hope in hell of surviving on planet Earth. You'll just get eaten alive, or you'll be too ignorant to not see danger when it's right in front of you. A lot of these fairy tales seem to point out what I would say now is the obvious, but because they're not being told anymore, for reasons we can get into, I think one of the main reasons they're not being told anymore is because they're not considered politically correct, which is the old retarded version of saying woke. And that's why they've messed up a lot of these stories, so that they don't have the same meaning, they don't teach the same lesson, and that effect on society is abundantly clear, I would say, today. So you wanted to start off with Jack and the Beanstalk? Let's rip these down.
Because
all of them. Let's rip them all down.
I grabbed a couple of things, and it's not easy to find the original of anything,
I know.
These days. So I did a bit of fishing around. I looked at a couple of things. But when it come to Jack and the Beanstalk, I was looking for written things I couldn't really find, so I had to watch a little video. So I watched that, and I come up with some interesting things. They've all got interesting things in them, I've got to say, but Jack and the Beanstalk seems to fit in with what we're talking about, because ultimately it was about the rich and the poor. Jack stealing from the giant was a metaphor for the poor people stealing from the rich, the giants. But then when you look deeper and you go back in history, before the tyranny of the overlords, it's got a little bit of a different thing. And you wonder how much truth they're actually hiding from us. So we'll start with fee, fi, fo, fum. Everybody knows that, Jack and the Beanstalk. Fee, fi, fo, fum.
Yeah.
I smell an Englishman. Right?
Grind his bones to make my bread.
Yeah, fee fi fo fum is an actual language, apparently. I would say it's the giant's language. And actually means, behold, food, good to eat, sufficient for my hunger.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's crazy.
Giants eating people.
So that's because I always thought that it just meant gibberish, because giants are retarded. Because they're so big that you know what I mean? Like, they need more blood around their brain to keep it working properly, I don't know, for some reason this giant likes to do fee fi fo fum. I never even thought of what the hell does that even mean? You're saying it means
I thought
food good to eat, or what?
Yes. Yeah, it means exactly that.
So
like we would say if we...
How do you think they knew that that's what it meant?
Because in the old days, the languages were all killed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that that's an old language, and that's what it originally meant. But they didn't want you to know that those things existed or there was them old languages, so they just turned it into something that we would laugh at. And we know in this society, listen, the cockies are going on. If we know in this society, if you need the truth, they'll make a joke out of it and make everyone laugh at you. So they buff it, the truth away. So that's the truth. That behold, good food. And we know that there's stories in history about giants eating people and stuff like that, right? I don't think they all ate people. I think that's a bit
I'm
wrong.
wondering,
because we tend to.
do you think all the giants' words start with F?
Fuck, I don't know.
They all start with F. The giants, they F
I've
with
got to
everything.
tell you though, if you've ever listened to the Maori language from New Zealand, right? When they speak, it all starts with F, and us Aussies laugh because it sounds like they're saying the F word, like in 5 different ways. It's really
Right.
funny. Yeah, so check out the original Maori language from New Zealand and listen to the way they talk. You're going to have a bit of a laugh. And they laugh too because they know what they sound like to us. Yeah, and that's what it is. It's all FF, FF.
That's
But
crazy,
it
though.
must
that
be on a
that-
frequency level, I'd say.
I never even
The
thought
F
to
word.
even look at a translation for free fi fo fum.
Neither did I until I started poking around,
But it makes
looking
sense
at these
because
fairy tale things.
I smell the blood of an Englishman. I'll grind his bones to make my bread. At least
Yeah.
that's the version I was taught. Maybe you were taught, I smell the blood
No,
of an
that's the version I
Australian
was
man.
taught.
Well,
Well,
here's another
we were
question.
happy about that, obviously.
How
The
did
Giants
the
can eat all the
Englishman?
Englishmen they wanted.
How did the Englishman end up there? Why was it an Englishman?
Probably because Europe's all joined together and the water wasn't as abundant, so it was probably all joined together at one stage. But there were giants everywhere, so it didn't matter. There were all kinds of giants. So anyway, there you go about the fee fi fo fum. What else have we got? Oh, the golden goose. All right. So the golden goose represents 2 things you could look at. So in the old days, the golden goose actually meant enlightenment, right? And in the new days, it meant wealth because the golden goose laid gold eggs. But what the old days was, the gold eggs were the enlightenment, right? That was the treasure. But greed would kill the enlightenment and then it'd become wealth. So that's what the golden goose is about. That's a lesson in itself.
And the giant likes to eat bread.
And the giant likes to eat bread.
Yeah, the
Well,
giant, because
bread with
that's
his
why
humans, anyway.
he's gonna grind the bones to make his bread. I mean, he clearly likes and knows how to make bread, which is impressive for a giant. I can't imagine what that would look like. But that's another thing. The grinding of the bones to use as what I'm assuming is like sort of like flour, or like, you know, some kind of meal to make bread. And then you're saying that the meaning, or the metaphorical meaning to enlightenment, the antithesis of that is to eat things like bread. Is that what
Humbled, yeah.
Is that what I heard? Did I get
No.
that right?
No, not quite. No. I wasn't talking about the bread. I just figured he liked bread with his human, you know. I mean, a lot of people do these days.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I think there's even a specific
So
bread
nothing's
for
really
that.
changed. Yeah, when you look at the situation we're in today, concerning, what do they call them? Impure meat. That's what they call them, something like that, right? Another word for eating human. Yeah, not much changed, really. They still eat bread with their human patties. But to know, in the old days, they just told you out straight. To today, they cover it all up. That's a big different thing, you know. So
Yeah.
everyone should be walking around fighting with them. Yeah. Now, the golden goose, because in the story of the Jack and the Beanstalk, there was the golden goose, right? And everyone naturally thought that you grab the golden goose that lays gold eggs, you'll be rich forever. And it actually didn't mean that. It meant the golden goose was about enlightenment, and spiritual wisdom and stuff like that. So there's a different concept. Now we'll move on to the harp. Do you remember the harp that sang in the story of Jack and the Beanstalk? Now, I'm presuming everyone listens knows the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. There could be some people out there that don't.
Tell the listeners in case they need a refresher. It's a really old story, I would assume, for most people listening. But it's not like it's a story that gets told every day. So just give us a Cole's Notes refresher.
Oh, a real quick one.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick there. And there's more to it too, because even Jack was a poor fella, and he had siblings, and his mum told him to go and sell the cow so they could get some money to eat and pay the rent and all that. Right? Anyway, so he takes the cow out, but instead of selling it, he gets some magic beans, and he brought the magic beans home, and he got into trouble because they were useless, and they got thrown on the ground. There's different versions of this story, by the way. They got thrown on the ground, and in the morning, overnight, a magic beanstalk grew all the way up to the clouds, and Jack climbed it and found out there was another land up in the sky, and giants lived there, and there was a golden harp and a goose that laid golden eggs, so he stole them. And then went down the beanstalk, cut the beanstalk down so the giant couldn't follow him. Apparently the giant was climbing down the beanstalk while he did it, and the giant died when he smashed to the earth. End of story. That's what the basic story is. But the truth, well, maybe they do live high up. I think they live in the mountain. Anyway, because I know giants were real ones, right? So they haven't gone right into the giants other than language, so they had their own language. And I told you about the golden goose. Now, the harp is really interesting, Polly. I thought you'd find this interesting. Now, the actual old stories about the harp said that it could make armies cry, it could make them laugh, and it could also put kingdoms to sleep.
Wow.
Now, this is frequency we're talking.
Yeah,
about.
now we're talking about things like
All right,
propaganda, social media, frequency, and what they're like. It kind of even ties back into how the shootings are reported. They're using this same tactic.
And we know they've got frequency weapons also.
Yeah,
you can use frequency as weapons. So that's what the harp was about. And people wanted the harp so they could rule. Because if it makes an army cry and laugh, you've got control over the army, right? And if you can make a whole kingdom go to sleep, you now own that.
You've heard of harp, right? The actual like.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's like, the frequency thing. There you go.
You can't be more obvious, right? Like it's right in our faces, but they've been telling us for since these stories have been written. That's fascinating. Control. I've heard a different interpretation of Jack and the Beanstalk, and that was came from it's kind of out there, but I'll share it anyways. I'll do the shortest version possible here.
Okay.
So the seeds or beans that Jack was given are actually cannabis seeds.
Oh, righty,
Yeah. And so this came from the hypothesis that if you were going to send a species of human to a planet to, try to start civilization or whatever, that one of the best crops you could send them there with would be cannabis, because it seems to be able to grow anywhere, and you can use it for so many different things, not just medicinally, but recreationally, of course, and also with materials, and like the material science with cannabis has been vastly overlooked, I think. But maybe we can help with that at some point. But it would be it's like potatoes, right? Like if you're gonna send somebody out into somewhere to start a civilization, it's like almost as useful as potatoes like literally saved the world almost at one point. The interpretation that Jack didn't get I mean, what handful of magic beans is worth a cow? You gotta. So it seems stupid, right? That somebody would trade a cow for a handful of beans, unless those beans are extremely valuable. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, I do know what you mean.
So I
Yes.
think there's possibly a hidden message within Jack and the Beanstalk, specifically when he trades his cow for the beans, because his mom was expecting gold or something like that, probably, and he ended up making her way more money with those beans due to the golden hen, or the goose, and the harp, right?
Yep.
So what's the real lesson that's being hidden in there, do you think? Because to me it seems like sometimes people don't see the value in things because they don't have the patience to wait for the benefits.
I don't know. Well, I'll tell you something, because I like giants and I've done a lot of research on giants. I found that some giants that don't eat humans actually eat beans. There's a certain kind of bean that they grow and they eat that.
Well, that just kind of makes me think about giant farts now.
Well, the trees used to be giant too, so I reckon they could handle it all. All I've heard are fart jokes. So I've got to tell you, it's been a funny week. Every different person I've talked to has said a fart joke or said something about farts this week. It's really funny. Why that, I don't know. It's like, oh my God. Anyway, the beans, yeah, the magic beans. Well, the magic bean grew a giant beanstalk, so it was like I said, there were giant trees in them days which gave off giant seeds, and some of them rock pods that we see, that they think they're spherical rocks, and they crack them open and there's another spherical rock inside, is actually a petrified giant seed. So the giant beans grew giant beanstalks, so the giants could eat giant beans. That's what I figured.
And it's kind of an interesting coincidence that you have the frozen and canned vegetable company labeled the Green Giant.
I saw that in my researches, yes. Like I said, I like giants. I saw the Green Giant. And that Green Giant...
Don't you think that is kind of like a little bit of like a here's something hiding in plain sight kind of thing? Because I just can't figure out what it is.
Yeah, exactly, right. That's what I mean. They know the truth and they've hidden it from us. So we've just got to, figure out what's going on.
So we have vegetarian giants.
Yes. That helped human beings.
That's incredible. Vegetarian giants. No, how would you get so big eating vegetables?
Oh, well, you can. I've seen bodybuilders and everything being vegetarians. Getting big.
I don't know.
Depends on your stature too. You can't, But you got to remember, back then the atmosphere was different because there were giant trees, and when they cut the giant trees down, the atmosphere changed. So, and the giants left probably because they couldn't really survive anymore. There wasn't enough air. That's why probably nowadays they report sightings in mountains and stuff, because the air's different. But I don't know. I don't know everything. I just know what I've seen.
That's a good theory, actually.
Yeah. And the beans, well, there's something about the beans. There is, Polly. I'd have to do a bit more digging about that.
Yeah, I think there's something in there with the beans. Like, I mean, to give back, if you think about when that story was written, like a cow is worth a lot of money because you could not only get milk from it, but you could slaughter it when it was too old to give milk and eat it or sell it as meat.
And you get more cows out of it. So
even that too, exactly, right. So, I mean, like to trade it for a handful of beans seems like a ridiculous thing to do. It's definitely not practical. It seems illogical. But yet,
so I think there's a hidden thing.
Everything ends up working out in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I didn't dig too deep. Like, I dug far enough to find the information I got, but I realised if I had to keep digging on different sources, I would probably be able to root out the meaning of all, the origins of everything. So, all right, I'm just looking at what else I got here. Oh, because when you look it up, they'll tell you one story, but then you got to dig deeper to find the actual real story, and then you got to sift through them to find out what's
It's
worth saying and
definitely,
what
yeah,
isn't.
it's not one of the most readily available archives of information when you dive into these sort of stories. I mean, you can either do it from the perspective of one story at a time, or you can do it from the perspective of common themes in old stories, and then try to go and
Yeah,
find the origin of that common theme. And I found that a lot of common themes go back to, like, astrology, which is, I don't know what that means exactly, but I know that there's definitely things we don't know about astrology and how it's actually being used. But I have a hunch that some of these old fairy tales, um, maybe even Jack and the Beanstalk included, uh, could be encoding some sort of astrological information, as well as uh, what I guess they would call, the moral of the story. Which I'm still not sure of what the
yeah,
moral of the story is of Jack and the Beanstalk. But, a lot of these old stories that we're talking about today, well, so far we've only talked about the one, but the ones that we will be talking about, they all seem to have like this moral or a lesson at the end. Like this story is not just an entertain. It's not just for entertainment, right? Like when you tell a child a story that scares them, you leave an imprint. That's like social programming. That's exactly
yes,
the same thing
exactly.
as social programming. This is these stories now, through the use of social media, with kids being handed cell phones at 9, 10 years old now, they're getting like fairy tales on steroids.
Yeah, true.
And so, but I guess what I'm pointing out here is that it seems to me like fairy tales may have been one of the early forms of social programming. But they had the best intentions in mind, because if you look at a lot of these stories, the moral of the story is usually a just moral. It's not something like, it's not like they're promoting, murder or stealing, or, uh, they're promoting the consequences of doing those things, the consequences of jealousy or naivety, or, do you know what I mean? Like, and now no one's being brought up with these lessons. Instead, they get inundated uh, with replicas of these old stories that are designed to just sort of uh, condense it into a little freaking arrow that sticks into your mind like a splinter, and you don't really get the actual lesson or the moral out of the story anymore. It,
True,
and they use, I
true.
mean, look at Snow White. Here's a perfect example.
All right, I think I got
What
something. So I'm bringing
what
up on my
what have
page.
they
It's in.
done? What have they done to Snow White? Like
I got Snow
now, the
White.
the, the latest Snow White, she's black. I think she's a black woman. I'm not saying that makes a
Well,
difference, but they did that on purpose just to piss people off.
well, the true story of Snow White is really sad.
Why didn't they call
I
her
had a look
Snow
into.
Black then?
Um, so there was actually a person. I haven't got her listed because I remembered this one. So this I should have, because I could give you a real name. So the lady who was in real life Snow White, um, she was the daughter of some rich dude, and someone in the family didn't like her, so they sent her away to another country. And on the way, the family business had children working for them, poor children or orphans kind of things. On the way, she stopped at one of those places to stay overnight. That's the dwarves. The dwarves aren't actually dwarves. They were poor kids that they had put to work, right? So she stayed with them. And then she finally got to where she was going. And when she got to where she was going, the rich people poisoned her. That's the real story. They got rid of her. She was probably full of light or something, or and spoke the truth. But anyway, that's a true story of poor Sleeping Beauty. And see how pretty they made it so they could cover their ass and not tell you that they got rid of someone good.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I found it with Snow White. There's also an interesting biblical connection with the whole apple thing. Like, wasn't she given a poison apple?
Yeah, and if you think about that today, Apple computers, the poison apple.
And yeah, if you think about the icon,
it'll make you fall asleep.
The icon of Apple computers is an apple with a bite out of it.
Yeah, it'll make you fall asleep, people.
They're telling you that this is going to kill you, basically. But
exactly,
I mean, how many people do you think went and saw the latest iteration of Snow White? But I think it was Disney that did it. I mean, I guess they still have the rights to all those movies. But how many people do you think went to see that movie knowing what the original, like, I mean, that movie's isn't that from like the 50s or like might even be older? Yeah. It's an old story.
She might have been black, and because you know what they do, because original nobility was black. And then they whitewashed it. No offence to anyone, but that's just what history did. And they hid all the black nobility. So she might have been black. That's why they got rid of her. You don't know.
Yeah, I guess we don't.
Maybe
her name was really Jet Black.
It could be.
Instead of, well, who knows? And that story is very interesting too because of the amount. Weren't there 12 dwarves?
Yeah.
Or no, it was 7, wasn't it? 7 or 12. One of those numbers. One of those weird numbers that keeps showing up in all kinds of other stories.
Are we going to name them? Sleepy, Dopey.
I only remember Dopey.
No. Yeah. I remember Sleepy. Everyone's going through their head now. Do I remember the 7 dwarfs? Do I remember their names? Everyone should know. But that's how much programming we are. They programmed us from the kid, right?
Right.
By watching these shows. So you've got to go back in your mind and unprogram all that and go, what programs are in there that are running I didn't know about? Oh, they've been there since I've been a kid. Let's look at the story.
Right. Okay.
You heard of Rapunzel?
This is just one last thing, going back to the whole biblical thing with Snow White. It was 7 dwarves. Thank you, Anki, in the chat for the confirmation. And 7 deadly sins. And if you look at the names of the dwarves, I'm sure we could figure out which dwarf fits to which.
Grumpy.
Yeah. Right. Like you could probably figure out which ones fit to what. So, like, I mean, even in something as innocent as seemingly as Snow White, that story, there's so much encoded information in there. But if you don't know what you're looking for, you're never going to find it.
Yeah, because you didn't ask the question.
And those are the real lessons that need to be learned from these stories, I think, to make smarter people.
Yeah.
Or to make more enlightened people. To give everybody the golden goose.
To inspire your mind to ask questions when things...
Right.
You know, you might not get nothing out of it. There might not be any questions to ask, but just have a look just in case. It's like finding stuff, you know. Just look there just in case. Lift it up and have a look. There's nothing under there. There's nothing under there. If there is, you'd be surprised. And this day and age, you'll be surprised. Everything you turn over these days has got something that they've been hiding. That's what I've been realising. As simple as your food, what you hear, you know, how you operate and how the world operates, the whole thing. It's like, it's all BS. It's like, hang on. But don't worry, it's all come crumbling down. We'll see reality soon. Another one I found, Polly, was Rapunzel. Now, we all know Rapunzel. They put her in a tower, let down the golden hair because the prince climbed up and there was an evil woman in it. It's always an evil woman. You don't hear the evil wizard. It's always the evil witch. Anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of evil women in these stories too. Like, think about Cinderella, think about Snow White even. Like, it's always the evil woman.
Yep. And they always lose a parent. or something. They haven't got parents, or they've got a grandma, or some shit like that. Yeah. Anyway,
Well, you're not evil.
that's
You,
programming.
you
That's
don't seem evil.
programming.
You're a woman. You seem fine.
No.
So what's the deal with that?
Oh, I've actually had a man. I had a man not long ago point at me and yell out, "She's evil," and that was funny. And truth was, he was trying to do a magic trick, and I busted him. But that's what happens when you bust someone doing the wrong thing. They automatically put it on you, right? So I found out Rapunzel is actually the first written version of Rapunzel is in Italy in 1634. And the interesting thing about it is it talks about an ogre. It's not a cranky old lady. It's an ogre. Hang on, I've got to flick around some things so I can see what I'm looking at. And I don't want to read you the whole thing out and be boring, but I'll just go through it. So what do we got here? I can't pronounce the name of the person that wrote it. So Rapunzel her real name was Pescadosia. That was the real name of Rapunzel. So she was actually a real person, obviously. She was sold to the ogres by her mother, and her mother stole parsley from the ogres. And
Parsley?
when Pescadosia, parsley, this is what it says.
Imagine what kind of life
And
you
there's-
have if you have to steal parsley.
Parsley, I know.
Like, it's one of the
There is another
easiest
story
things.
saying it was.
It's one of the easiest things to grow.
There's another story saying they were herbs. Someone was sick and they were stealing herbs for their sickness. But so it varies. You've got to remember there's variations to all these stories depending what country got them and how they changed them. And at the end of all this, I'm going to tell you something that you're
I
going to
think
spin out on. And
I think maybe that the police report got this story wrong, and that Rapunzel was
There you go.
she wasn't stealing parsley. It was probably weed.
yeah, beans.
They just said and they
It was
just-
beans
it's,
from the
it's,
time.
Yeah, it's just beans. No,
No.
it's just beans. No worries.
No. So apparently this Pescadosia girl, she was only 7 years old, and the ogres locked her in a tower. She fell in love with a prince and tried to escape, but the ogres came after them. Pescadosia saves them by using magical acorns to get animals to kill the ogres. That's a different twist, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a French version, so that's the Italian version. So the guy wrote it, and as the story went round, it changed. And the French version says she was locked in the tower to protect her. The fairy is friendly, but the girl angers the fairy by falling in love. What else? And it doesn't tell you, but it has a happy ending. So that story is a bit different. The French version, they made it more romantic. Okay,
Yeah,
from the
as
original
the French
version.
the French are known for doing things like that.
Yeah, exactly. We wouldn't expect anything less from them.
The French Rapunzel has a happy ending, no?
One of my daughters grew up loving French things, and she always used to say to me, "I don't know why I love French things, Mama." And I looked at her, I thought, "You're probably born French in your last life or something." Anyway, it's always the girl. All right, so it varied a little bit from that. So basically, Rapunzel was about ogres and magic acorns and how they killed the ogres. And we know that ogres were here and there spotted through history as well. Okay, so most of them tell you the normal story. Like I said, to find the real story is a lot harder. All right, so that's Rapunzel. That's all I can find on poor Rapunzel.
I've got a sort of more of a vague question for you here. And that is, these stories, at least, you would consider a story, that's something that somebody, like, went through the time to, like, I guess, think, and then write it down, right? So that it could be told to other people, or at least, maybe if it didn't get written down, it was encoded in a song or a poem or a nursery rhyme or something along those lines, so that it could be easily transferred from one generation to the next. What I'm asking is, and this is, I mean, I'm not expecting anybody to know the answer to this question, but it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on it. And that is, where's the actual origin of that story coming from? Because to me, my guess is it's actually coming from real life experiences, like real physical, not necessarily spiritual experiences, but physical experiences that can translate into spiritual information, if that makes any sense. So a lot of these stories are kind of teaching us moral lessons of their consequences of physical actions and outcomes, but they have spiritual ramifications. And how did a person just sit down one day and write a story out like that? I don't think, unless it actually happened to them in some way.
It has to be based on some reality, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So where do you think that reality is?
Yeah.
Like, where does that come from?
Well, the ogre, I don't know, talking about this Rapunzel, and she was only 7 years old, so that sounds like human trafficking.
A little bit,
you know what I mean? They kept her locked up. Right, it sounded like human trafficking, yeah. And then she devised a way to get rid of them, and she used animals to attack them. So I don't know. But yeah, it just sounds like human trafficking. And back in them days, it would be easy to steal kids.
Well, but apparently
did you know, I'm going to change to the next number.
Apparently back in those days,
it's easier to steal kids, yeah.
Apparently back in those days, you were kind of considered out of the woods if you reached 7 years old. Like, because a lot of kids didn't make it that old, right? Like, the giants ate them or something. I don't know.
Yeah. The giants ate them. That's funny. This is a quick one because I couldn't find much on it. Jack and Jill. This is what spun me out. Did you know originally it wasn't Jack and Jill? It wasn't a boy and a girl. It was two boys, Jack and Gill.
No.
Gill. Yeah, it was two boys. Jack and Gill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. They changed it.
Well, you'd think two boys would probably be able to carry more water, right?
Hey. But then I thought it was more likely for two boys to come tumbling down the hill because they're more rough, you know, they'll probably play fighting or some shit like that. Spilled the water and went, oh, what are we going to do now? Do you want to go back up the hill? No.
I always wondered what happened after that nursery rhyme, too. Like, the nursery rhyme just kind of ends with them falling down the hill. Well, did they get up? Did they go back up and get more water? Or, like, what happened? Were they hurt?
They were hurt. Didn't you hear the rest of it? Because their mum put vinegar and brown paper on their head.
No. Maybe I've only heard the first half of that.
Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. And then it goes on.
Oh, see, I thought that was the end.
No, it isn't. There's actually more to it. But they changed it. Here we go, because they change everything, right? So they changed it from two boys. When they changed it to a boy and a girl, they actually changed it because of Louis the 16th and Marie Antoinette. They changed it to talk about them. That's why Jill came in.
Do you have the rest of that nursery rhyme in front of you? Like that? Because I always thought it ended after Jill came tumbling after. And it's like, she takes longer to fall down the hill because she's not carrying as much water. That's what I always thought. Turns out there's more. I can't wait to hear what the rest of it is.
All right. I'm trying to find it. It's in my head, but it's quicker if I look it up because I got up
Yeah,
really
no
early.
worries. No, take your time. That's fine. This is fascinating to me. I thought, like, here I am, my whole life, almost 50 years old now, and thinking, not that I think about nursery rhymes all the time, but thinking that was the end of that one, and now I'm learning it's not.
Oh, that's so funny.
Wait till I
All
find
right.
out about Little Miss Muffet.
I didn't even get that far, you know. I collected a few and went, wow, that's heaps. Um, all right, here we go. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. Up Jack got, and home he trot, as fast as he could caper, to old Dame Dob, who patched his knob with vinegar and paper.
That's awesome. I like that. I like the second part better. Oh, that's brilliant.
Oh, there you go. That's the laugh of the day.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's an
So-
actual real. Like, what sort of moral are we supposed to get from this? Where's the hidden meaning?
Well, I was just thinking it's a bit sinister because it was originally two boys.
Yeah, a little bit. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I didn't expect that to happen.
What do we teach our children?
I don't know, but you know what? Now I know why they left that second part out. At least
Yeah, I do
the
too.
version I learned, I thought it was over. Okay, no, it turns out it gets way worse.
Well, I in my version, it wasn't like that. It was he bumped his head and they wrapped it in vinegar and brown paper. Right? It wasn't that original. Okay, we
man.
can see why they changed some of it.
Well,
Oh,
some
right.
of it. I mean, you know what? This at
Yeah,
least says
okay.
this at least says that people who wrote these stories at least had a sense of humor at some point, and it seems to be like they already had a sense of humor way back then when they were writing these stories. You know what? Let's throw this in here just to see if anyone notices.
All right, I'm moving on to Baba Black Sheep. No, that's a short one. Actually, Baba Black Sheep, you know what it was all about? It was about medieval wool taxes.
Really?
And when I read that, I went, typical. Yeah, it was about wool taxes, that Baba Black Sheep.
Bloody
Because the
taxes.
government, in all the research I've done, the government has taxed the most ridiculous thing. At one time, there was a window tax, and that's why the old buildings had boarded up windows. It wasn't because they blocked it out and they didn't want the light. It was because they got taxed on every window they had, so it was cheaper to board some up. And then when I saw wool taxes, I'm thinking, you're taxing the wool on the bloody sheep? Okay. And I thought, of course, that's what Baba Black Sheep's about, and to incite
Right.
racial war between black and white.
And
what it was made
that's a
for,
tale as old
eventually.
as time itself. Like, I mean, light versus darkness. I mean, we're talking about. I mean, literally every single day is light versus darkness. You have the day and the night. I mean,
Yeah, and no one wanted black wool. They wanted white wool so they could dye it. And they didn't want black wool. So black, poor Baba Black Sheep was worth not as much for his keep.
wow. And so that's why they don't have that many black sheep anymore. And that's why when people are referred to as a black sheep, nobody wants them.
Yeah,
Because you can't dye
Yeah.
their clothes. You can't
yeah.
change their color because it's black, because it's hard to dye black. But okay, that is, I mean, to put that in a nursery rhyme,
A lot in a nursery, right, me?
right? So, but okay, I'll bet you that people are gonna be like, well, no, I want black wool. I want black wool because it's rare.
Bring
It's
the
gonna
black.
get. It's gonna get
Bring
to that
black
point
wool back.
eventually. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, then you're going to have the motley coloured sheep going, what about us?
Oh, I never thought about that though. Like, I never thought about it from the angle of like what you can do after it. Like, okay, you get sheep. Yeah, most sheep are white. Whatever, that's fine. But the reason why that's preferred is so you can dye it whatever color you want. I just didn't. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm slow sometimes. I don't think about these things
And
all the
white
way
was,
through.
and when you live in a dirty society, like a dirty job, like here, the farmers, if you see a farmer dressed in white, that means they've gone to town because they won't wear white on their farm because they'll get dirty. So people dressed in white back in them days were obviously more richer as well because they didn't have to do any dirty work.
Damn.
So the white wool was worth more. Yeah. Yeah, isn't it funny? And that all comes back to, status and money and that same thing. Whoever invented money, I wonder if they're turning over in their grave.
Yeah, well, that would be interesting to be a fly on the wall for that conversation. Like, hey, I got an idea. We're just going to cut up little bits of metal and we're going to tell people that they're worth something. Like, we'll start off, this one's worth a cow. We'll put a picture of a cow on it. That's worth a cow. There you go. Give that to somebody. Now they have a cow they can put in their pocket. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
People were probably like,
You
you mean I can carry 8 cows in my pocket? And they're like, yup.
can buy it.
You sure
Yeah.
can. Not only can you carry 8 cows in your pocket, but you can carry a kingdom of wealth in your pocket. You can
And
walk up
imagine
to a
poor Jack.
castle with this bag of bits of metal and then take that castle. They'll give it to you as long as you give them the bits of metal. And everybody around them was like, "What? Okay, so you're saying these little bits of metal?" And the guy's like, "Well, wait, no, they're not just bits of metal. They've all got to be round. They have to be round, or it doesn't work. Yeah. We can't just have shards of metal here. Okay, we need them to be perfectly round, or it won't work." Oh, okay. And what's this
And the
going to do
truth
for
is
us?
that-
It's going to allow us to take all of everybody's resources and we'll just give them little bits of metal. Oh, man, that sounds great. We'll be in power forever. No wonder there's still
And
many...
basically, that's what's happened.
Well,
They traded everything for little bits of metal there.
no wonder you get so many stories
That's
that
funny,
revolve
yeah.
around the same theme of stealing from the rich to give to the poor.
Yeah.
Like, why isn't there a
Yeah.
fairy tale that's like a rich dude says, you know what, I'm being a bit of a cunt. I'm going to give people some money because they're all poor. And I don't need all this money. Like, how come there's no fairy tales about that?
Yeah. Yeah, you got a point.
Talk about a happy ending. But no, you don't find those. I do have another angle I want to approach fairy tales from. And maybe fairy tales, I'm using that very loosely. Because many people wouldn't consider Alice in Wonderland to be a fairy tale. But there are other stories like that.
Alice in Wonderland. It was, before you go on, it was banned in China because it promoted the use of hallucinogenic drugs.
Well, this is what I'm getting to. So you just kind of just preempted what I wanted to go into. What we're gonna do in a couple minutes.
Sorry.
No, it's good. We're in each other's head. It happens every time we talk. I'm gonna play a couple of tunes in a couple of minutes, just to get us up to 420, where I'll shout out the greenhouse. And I know you're probably not in their greenhouse right now, Luna, but there has been a ton of comments sending you all well wishes, love, Happy New Year, and people just really enjoyed listening to what you have to say. So they're all listening. We're going to shout them out after we play a couple tunes. But just to set it up, before we go to the break, just to set it up, that some of these stories or fairy tales or iconic stories, I guess would be a good way to describe them, are actually being used as psychedelic warfare. So, like, people are being encouraged to take psychedelics and watch certain movies or listen to certain stories. And basically, a movie is just an animated book, right? So, we could include movies into this. We already have with Snow White and all those other Disney movies. But the idea that it's being used parallel with psychedelics, sort of covertly, like clearly the government doesn't want us all taking mushrooms every weekend, because then we would all be happier, and we would figure out that tax is robbery, and we would probably have a different government within 10 years. So that's why they're illegal. But they also are responsible for some of these stories that come out that almost in a way encourage the use of psychedelics in order not to gain a better understanding of yourself and the universe and where you exist, but just a better understanding of the story they're trying to tell. And a lot of times the story they're trying to tell is probably not, I mean, if you're going to take psychedelics, and you know, for entertainment purposes, let's say, some of these movies, they work, they're entertaining, but the messages that they're trying to encode in them, I don't think align with what psychedelics are supposed to be used for, and it can be destructive. And I think maybe they're using that sort of an angle as a way to have ammo for their war on drugs and psychedelics. And I mean, thankfully, we're going into a more of a liberal phase, I guess you could say, in regards to psychedelics and how they're being used now, with, you know, people that have severe PTSD or addiction problems. It seems to be working for those kinds of people, for those kinds of problems. But I mean, a story like Alice in Wonderland, it almost seems to be like you won't fully understand this story unless you take mushrooms or some kind of psychedelic. Like, to me, that's how it feels. Like, I mean, even the movie, right? Like the cartoon movie, which I believe that's also Disney, isn't it not? It's way more fun to watch it on psychedelics. I've done it both. I've done it both ways. It's definitely more enjoyable when you're on psychedelics. But so, I guess what I want to get into when we come back is the use of stories and lore for programming people. I mean, at the end of the day, before the internet, before TV, and before books, you had fables, right? You had stories you tell around the campfire about a famous warrior or a famous medicine man or whatever, a hunter, or a famous time in history that changed the world forever. You have these stories. They're used as a metaphorical hard drive for information that people are supposed to remember. And we've just forgotten why we're supposed to remember them. But we'll get into that when we come back. In 10 minutes, we'll shout out the greenhouse. And then we'll come back and we'll try to wrap this up in a nice little New Year's bow for everybody so that people's minds don't melt out of their heads.
Okay.
But yeah, this is the Polynation Broadcast. That's Luna over there on the other side of the planet. And we're in the greenhouse, groundzeroplus.com. Here's Unity. The song is called The Comet Is Coming. Don't be afraid. groundzeroplus.com. The next song, just a little bit of a giggle. It makes me laugh. I can't help it. I'm sorry to expose you to this, but I can't help it. After this tune, we'll be back. Shout out the Greenhouse. groundzeroplus.com. Become a member. Support independent broadcasting. Polynation broadcast. We're live. That was the best use of an old dial-up phone that I have heard in a very long time. And what a horrible song. But at least that one, that version of it, I don't know, for some reason, it kind of makes me laugh. Because I remember when phones used to sound like that. And I never thought of playing that for anybody on the phone when I was using those kinds of phones back in the day. Anyways, it's 4:20 Eastern Time, PM. We're live in the Greenhouse, groundzeroplus.com. Greenhouse is the chat room. If you're a member, you know you're there. We're going to shout you out right now. In there today, we have Chris from Ground Zero Plus. We've got Mitch Durbin's in there. Steve SoCal is there. Aniki's there, the gift queen. Excellent gifts, by the way. Luna, you should see these gifts. Okay, I'll get back to the gifts in a second. Let me finish the chat room first, and then we'll get back to the gifts, because I got to ask you a question about these. We got Mike Mont in there. We got Lisa in there. Eric's in there. Sonny's there. Dats in Focus is there. Beekeeper and Amber are all in the greenhouse. Many of the regulars that you will encounter in the greenhouse. Excellent people to talk to, chat with, debate with. But okay, and they all say hi, Luna, by the way.
G'day, everyone.
And so, referring back to the gift queen, Aniki, she does great work with, you can literally just send her a photograph and she'll turn it into a GIF. And there's been GIFs made where it's like a picture of you, and then it gets animated. So like AI is animating a still photograph of your likeness, right?
Okay, yep.
Have you ever seen any of those? Have you ever seen anybody do an AI animation, even if, like, just even a little GIF, like a 2 or 3 second animation of a still photograph of your own self?
Kinda, yeah.
What do you think? Does it make you feel weird?
Nah, not really.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying it makes me feel weird, but what it does do is, like, I can clearly tell, at least so far, that that's an AI version of me.
Oh, yeah, you can
Like,
tell.
if you're going to do the AI litmus test, it's got to be an AI-generated version of your own self now, or soon to be, for you to be able to tell the difference. Like, otherwise, you're not going to know what's real and what's not real.
True.
And I'm surprised that AI hasn't, sank its teeth into these old stories that we're talking about to use them for social programming, which is, if you think about it, fairy tales and if they're not storage of information, they're social programming. There seems like there's no other uses for them. And
True.
So, with the social programming aspect, let me use Little Red Riding Hood for an example. Little Red Riding Hood, in my opinion, taught people about the danger of charming strangers. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, everything looks good. It's like the oldest educational form of how to spot a scam. But nowadays, the scam, if you get scammed, you're kind of just out of a lot of money. But back in those days, if you get scammed, you're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead. That's it. You're kidnapped. You're child trafficked. Whatever it is. Notice that a lot of these stories, okay, they're meant for children, right? The main characters in the stories are usually children as well, right?
Yes.
Isn't that weird?
Yes, it is.
So maybe it's not weird. Maybe it's by design. That's kind of what I'm trying to point out. Yeah, it is by design. But here's one thing that I think people underestimate about fairy tales, and that is it provides a safe theoretical environment to practice dangerous situations. Like, it gives a child, like, if I was that kid, if I was Little Red Riding Hood, and I said, you seem nice and everything, but you got really big teeth, and you kind of look like a wolf. I'm not saying you're ugly, but you kind of don't look like my grandma. She's not a wolf.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And now we hear stories about, especially among the elderly, people getting scammed out of lots of money. It's like, that's the whole point of being taught Little Red Riding Hood, is to avoid these scams. And it seems to be not working now. Maybe because we stopped telling those stories. What do you think?
Possibly. Well, I had all them thoughts, so I thought, let's look into banned ones. There's got to be some stories like that were banned, right? And I want to see why they were banned. And when I started looking into it, it wasn't for the good moral things that we think of. It was for all sorts of weird reasons. So Little Red Riding Hood in particular was banned in 2 Californian school districts in 1989 because it depicted the heroine taking a basket that contained a bottle of wine. Not because not for any good reason, because it contained a bottle of wine.
You know what? You know what's really strange about that is you mentioned that it was banned in areas in California. Is that what you said? Yeah. So
two schools. Yep.
California is one of the most highest wine producing states in all of America. So what the fuck is going on there? Was it? You know what I think? You know what I bet you it was. And I got to look into this because I think this is hilarious. I'll bet you it was French wine.
Yeah, probably. That's why.
I'll bet you it was French wine. They're like, we're not having this. No way. We've got way better wine than. Anyways, you know what? Australia. A little bit off topic here, but Australia has some of the best red wines I've ever tasted.
I don't drink wine, so I've driven through many vineyards out in the country there. Like, they go for miles, different kinds of grapes and everything. I don't like wine. I do like the grapes though. But yeah, I didn't realise that was so. I'll tell you something about fairy tales in Australia. So while I was looking, and I looked at banned historical folklore and all that, so to my surprise, in the early days, all our Aboriginal stories, because we got our own lot of stories, right? They were all banned for reasons like they clash with the Christian belief. The creatures in there, they didn't want anyone to think they were real. So they banned all our traditional stories. They're not now. You can access them now, right? And I speak about some of them. But in the old days, we were on the banned list. That was funny to know, besides Little Red Riding Hood. And in Arizona, they banned the Brother Grimm collection because it portrayed the female character in a negative way. It was anti-Semitic, and they had to take out the original version of Snow White, which featured the evil queen who was forced to dance to death in red-hot iron shoes. So that's why they banned it there in Arizona.
Wow. That's such a weird reason to ban something, isn't it?
Yeah, I never heard that version. They made a dance to death in red-hot iron shoes. That's horrible.
I don't think anything should be banned, actually, now that I'm thinking about it more broadly. I think...
Well, some things...
instead of banning things, why not create a population or mindset in a human being that can, figure it out for themselves? Why not just teach people... it doesn't... If you just teach people to think critically and use discernment and, in a lot of ways, a lot of these fairy tales kind of teach these kind of things that I'm speaking about here. But if we just had, that direction of, how to raise critical thinkers, then it wouldn't matter how much bullshit we had coming at us every single day. We would be able to see through it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter. None of these, fear-mongering stories designed, and I'm going to use that word again, designed to make people argue. And the best way to do that is to shoot somebody that doesn't deserve to be shot. That's the best way to do it. At least that's the easiest way they know how to do it. And by they, I mean, the people that are making us argue about this stuff. The fairy tales warned us about all of this. I'm not saying that they offer solutions. I still don't know what the solutions are. But if you look back on these old stories you were told as a child, they not only were warning us about what we are now falling prey to, but they were kind of almost programming us in a way to accept it.
Yeah, because I just saw the original version of Sleeping Beauty in the 17th century, and I'm not going to read it out because it's so explicit, and it's about older men taking advantage of younger women. So it had a really good story in it, like you're saying, but they changed it to make it all soft and plushy and have no meaning in it. The original Sleeping Beauty was to warn all the women, be careful.
Right.
And they took it out.
And isn't that strange? A lot of these sort of, I wouldn't call them modern adaptations, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm not even half a century old. They could be considered modern. Where do you draw the line between modern and old? Some of these stories go back before the Bible.
Yeah.
It's thousands of years old where these origins of some of these stories come from. And the fact that they're still around today, even though they're not as well, taught or discussed.
Yeah, changed, yeah.
I do believe that the modern version of children's storytelling is borrowing largely from these old stories, but and not necessarily always in a way that's harmful. There's probably some authors out there that are writing, excellent children's books to teach them, things about life that school doesn't teach you. School's not going to teach you how to react to somebody that just took advantage of you and embarrassed you in public, right? No one's going to... That's not what school teaches you.
From what I've heard, the school teacher that Sleeping Beauty was a tranny.
Well, maybe that's why they couldn't wake him up. You're pulling on the wrong thing. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, you know what? I have a huge tranny audience, and they're gonna love that one.
Oh,
they're gonna love it. No, I'm kidding, by the way, about the tranny audience. If everybody's listening here being like, oh my god, I'm listening to the same radio as a tranny, don't worry, you're fine.
It's good.
You're fine, okay? Don't worry about it. Not that I care anyways. Do whatever you want.
Yeah. As long as you don't hurt anybody else or make anybody do something against their will,
right.
It's okay.
Hey, and a lot of those lessons are the same ones that are being, the crux of some of these stories.
Yep.
But a lot of them also kind of, I don't want to say they're fear-mongering, but it's close. They're warnings of danger. But the danger they're warning of is what I would consider an integral part of human existence. Humans aren't perfect. Some of them are dickheads. Some of them are dangerous, right? Right? So, learning these lessons as a child, I think is good. What fairy tales do, in a way, is disguises the fear from the actual danger. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you can teach a child something terrifying without scaring the shit out of it if you just put that lesson into a fairy tale.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day,
Into a story.
it could still save its life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I guess, what do you think about the idea of fairy tales being a sort of a like a tool, or like a preventative rescue tool for children? I mean, maybe we hear a lot of talk, you know, with Epstein and all that. I don't really want to get into all that shit, but child trafficking and all this shit.
Yeah.
It seems to be like these fairy tales are like designed to help kids avoid that.
Avoid all that.
Yeah.
And I was just looking at the word fairy tale, and you know, it come to mind. All these fairies in the forest went, how are we going to help these kids? And one of them goes, I know, we'll make stories to teach them how to be careful. So the fairies started telling the stories to the children, and then they called them fairy tales. I'm just kidding. But you never know. Anything's possible.
You know what I heard is that real fairies don't have tails.
Oh, I could make a really funny joke, but I don't want to tell anybody.
Go on. No, you can't tease us.
Oh, because it was the fairies that let the trannies star in the book.
That's okay. You can do whatever you want.
The fairies are going, oh, we got our tranny friends, we'll write them in the book. No, I'm joking. Yeah, each their own. You got to laugh, but, you know, in all, you got to laugh at everything, even the saddest story, because of the frequency, you got to keep your frequency high. And a lot of the fairy tales, most of them have a good ending, or they're portrayed to have a good ending. Some of the old true ones, like Sleeping Beauty, is a bit rugged, and I wouldn't even read it out.
Right.
But that was straight. Yeah, that was straight out, a straight black and white story of be careful.
You know what would be cool is if they had the same fairy tales, but instead of the critical choice that the main character makes in order to induce the happy ending, you could actually say, well, what if Little Red Riding Hood did this instead? Like, what would we learn from that?
Here's one. Little Red Riding Hood was going to take the basket of wine and food to her grandma, and along the way she was tired and thought, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to eat and drink this, and so when I get there I'll be happy.
Yeah, I can't stand
and
this
she
old
turns up
woman.
with an empty basket. And then she gets there and she thinks her grandma's a wolf because she's pissed.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Here's how you deal with having to visit your family when they get too old to understand what you're saying. First step, pack a basket with a picnic. Put a bottle of wine in it. You'll need it before you get there. Yep, that's Little Red Riding Hood. And by the way, it was red wine in the basket, not white.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's not racist. I'm just saying.
And it was from California. Oh dear. Yeah, you gotta laugh.
You do.
But that's a better story. It's a better story, isn't it?
Well, usually a better story ends with laughter, I would say.
Yeah. So that means that the whole world, whatever's happening now, we're all going to end up laughing. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that would be great. It would be. Yeah, that would be really great.
Maybe that's what we should do. Every time they approach us and try to encroach our will, we all just stand together and laugh at them. Because
we can't do anything else.
Yeah, exactly. And they can't stop you from laughing at them. And it'd probably work better.
And even, okay, you know what I always say, like, you have a right to remain silent. But if you just laugh, you're not saying anything, but you're not being silent either.
I actually had a situation like that in my life, and it saved my life. So the situation was I was told to be quiet, and if I said another word, bad things that happened to me. I won't get into detail. Anyway, I sat there and I found it so funny and I couldn't stop laughing. And I'm thinking, I just, that laugh when you laugh and then you can't stop laughing and you don't really know why, but this laughter's just pouring out of you and you just keep laughing harder and harder. It came upon me like that. So I started laughing and I thought, I'm going to die. But I was laughing. I thought, oh, what a good way to do it. Anyway, it didn't happen because whatever happened in that laughter, the person that was threatening me ended up slumping over like a big lump and banging their hand on the table going, I don't understand, I don't understand, I don't understand. They were going crazy and they just kept repeating that word over and over again. And I'm thinking, what was in that laughter, man?
Right?
Yeah, it was very powerful, that laughter. I'm telling you, it saved me life. So I understand what the meaning of laughter is and we need to laugh at them. We do.
Yeah, I think laughter is not only a way of coping, but it's also a way of escaping.
Yeah.
When I mean, it's a constant barrage right now of division, things to argue about. You're either with Israel or you're against, or you're for guns or against them, or you're for immigration or against it. There's all these dichotomies, and they're all just like what I imagine is like one thumb, and it when you flick a coin on your thumb to like do heads or tails, but instead of one coin, it's like 8.
Yeah, right. You got to catch them as well as spin them.
Well, there's no. This is the thing. There's no intent of catching any of them. You got to call them all before they hit the ground.
Yeah, right.
And no one can do that.
You can't do that.
So the best thing to do is not do it.
Exactly, and just laugh.
And just laugh. Or, I mean, at least be able to use your critical thinking, and don't be panicked. Don't be divided. Don't pick a side. Try to see both sides, or as many. I mean, I really am frustrated with the whole concept of everything being like it's either one or the other. It's always dichotomized. It doesn't matter what we talk about. It's dichotomized. Why is there only 2 choices? It's like,
I'm a great believer.
It's either
in
yes or no.
choice.
Well, what happened to maybe?
No, there's always a third choice. That's what I've always believed. No matter what hits you in life, there's always another choice besides the one's been presented to you. Always. You just got to find it. Because there's always variables. You look at everything in life, there's variables. Any scenario, situation, there's always variables. So when someone comes up to you and says you got a choice of A or B, you tell them to take a hike, and you can take C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. You can take any one of them options that you please. You're a free person, and that person's the wrong one. That's legalese. You're a free living being, and Creator gave you freedom of choice. Right. And there's more than one choice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only way you can get rid of freedom of choice is if you give it to somebody. Like, that's the only way you can get rid of it. So
you give it away. It's so true.
Yeah. So I think a good way to sort of wrap this up might be that the old stories that we are all, well, at least the mainstream, a lot of them have been reformatted to suit woke agendas. They don't really change that much, other than superficial things that just make people argue. But if we look past that and into the real lessons that are supposed to be learned from hearing these stories, I mean, it's not like we didn't just start telling these stories for something to do. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point of having a story if it's not passing on some kind of information?
Yeah. Did I tell you about the original sayings? Because there's original sayings, the sayings that we have. There's also true versions of them. Have I talked to you about them?
Maybe off the air. Some of that rings a bell, but yeah, go.
I'll quickly go through
Yeah.
it. I've only got a couple here.
Yeah, give her.
So I'll tell you the original saying that we all know, and then I'll tell you the true saying, and you'll see how they changed it, and it'll kind of encapsulate what we're talking about here.
Right.
So, blood is thicker than water. We all know that saying, blood's thicker than water. Well, the true saying, and this is one of the biggest tricks of all, this one, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
Wow. That's very interesting.
Hey.
I mean, like, yeah,
So-
that's opening up a wormhole for me.
Well, the next one is curiosity killed the cat. Well, we know that one. And they've often been accused of it, all the curious minds. The true version is curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back.
I was just going to say, Zoe's been curious so many times, and she's never died. She's still here. Yeah.
And this one I love because a lot of us are accused of this one. And when I heard it, I realised that they're just trying to suppress us. Jack of all trades, master of none. The true saying is, Jack of all trades, master of none, though often better than a master of one.
Ha-ha.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, in that case, I could see why they maybe shortened it. It's a matter of modesty. You know what I mean? Especially if you're a jack of all trades. It's a matter of modesty. Like, I'm not going to tell you I'm a master of none, but the one you're doing, I'm better than you at that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. There's
Yeah,
so many.
so there you go.
I mean, what's it going to be like, do you think, in like 100 years from now? And people look back on these old sayings, what they would call cliches, I guess you could say. And they're going to look at them and do you think they're going to be like, what was the real meaning behind that?
Yeah, probably.
Do you think? Or are they going to be so like I don't know, I want to say indoctrinated because that's not the right word, but like influenced by AI. And like, I mean, AI is going to clearly research the origin of these stories as well and utilize the same tactics that these stories use in the future, I think.
Well, I've always said never to give your power away, as in, if you're going to rely on AI for all the wisdom and knowledge in your mind, you have been open to manipulation.
Right. And you're also stupid.
Yeah. And I don't know how the world's going to go in the future there, Polly. We have a choice. Humans can go, okay, AI is really good, but we can see the detrimentation to it because of the controls part of it. And it isn't the poor people that control it, right? And they might say, we're not going to do it, or it's going to only go to this limit. And then, again, everyone might fall over the cliff and fall into the trap.
Yeah.
But we ain't going with them. There's a lot of people that won't go with them, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of that this year, I think.
Yeah.
The way I like to imagine it is lemmings running towards a cliff. They just keep running. They run off the cliff. Everybody just looks at whatever is going on in front of them and follows. There's going to be people that stop and say, wait, there's a cliff there. I'm going to turn around and go left or right instead of where everybody else is going. And, I mean, I can't think of the actual nursery rhyme that tells that moral where it's like, don't always go along with what everybody else is doing because you don't know what they're being under the influence of. And so, like, just because everybody else is, like, it's like that cliche. If your friend jumped off a bridge, would you do it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My parents used to say that to me too.
Oh, me too. It's like, if he
I
was
wouldn't
my
jump.
friend, we wouldn't be on a bridge.
Yeah, we wouldn't be jumping. Yeah, I wouldn't be jumping. Not if I deemed it unsafe.
Right.
Yeah, got to think for yourself.
Yeah.
I actually tested. This is a funny situation when happened to me that tested that. We're out at the Elders Olympics, and they wanted to take photos of the banner, and it had rained, and the grass was muddy, and there were little patches of water, right? And the person taking the photo told me and the other lady to move our position so while we were holding the banner so that she could get the better photo. But that put the other lady right in the middle of the puddle. And I'm thinking, oh, you can't do that. So I'm trying to move in a position where the other lady wasn't standing in the puddle holding this banner. But the other lady just took orders from the photography lady and stood in the puddle. And I said to her, hey, sister, why did you step in the puddle? I said, because she told you to. And she goes, yeah. I said, don't you do why didn't you think for yourself? She goes, I always do what I'm told. And I just stood there like numbed. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's hard not to get angry at people like that, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really do anything getting angry at them. It just, I guess, excuse me, learning how to identify them is definitely a valuable skill.
Because she's a sweet lady, right? She's a sweet lady. Like
exactly. Like
I just identified
that
that's how she was. Yeah.
A lot of these people that have been socially programmed with the same freaking stories that we've just been talking about, they don't have a bad bone in their body. Like they're good,
kind
people. They just, some of them are just not capable of seeing through the wolf's disguise. They just think that's grandma.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's right.
And
that's right. Exactly.
I guess what I'm saying at the end of the day is if we had more emphasis on these old stories and the old school way in which they were told, that maybe a lot of people wouldn't be as gullible as they are now. Or maybe naive is a better word, but I like gullible.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe a lot of the things that are going on, they're happening, yes. But the way they're being reported is manipulating what people deem to be reality.
Yeah. I said you got to go out and check for yourself.
It's like the emperor's new clothes, right? Like nobody wants to tell the emperor that he's fucking naked, but the one kid that does gets crucified. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, we went through that scenario a few years ago when they expected everybody to mask up. Yeah, that was the emperor's new clothes. Then it's like, hello, is anyone going to state the obvious here?
Unbelievable. I know. I mean, it's that's all you can do. It's laughable.
Yeah. So it's left in the hands of the warriors that do state the obvious.
Yeah, we shrug it off.
Yeah, it's left up to all of us to stand up and yell out, there's a hole there, and if the person falls in it, well, don't feel guilty.
Right. Right.
It's all right, because
we're coming up to the we're coming up to the end of the show here. This show just flew by for me. I mean, I feel like we could talk for another 2-3 hours about stuff.
We probably could.
But you know what would be cool? This idea just popped into my head. There were so many old stories that we didn't even touch on.
Yes.
We briefly touched on Little Red Riding Hood. We did Jack and the Beanstalk. I wanted to get into Hansel and Gretel. We didn't have time for that. Peter Pan was another one.
Cinderella,
Alice in Wonderland. We kind of touched on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's so many old classical stories that are like part of like at least Western world education. Like you take a grade 4 English class, there's a good chance you're going to have to read one of these stories.
Yeah.
And so what are you going to get out of it? Besides like being able to regurgitate what actually happened in the story, if that's all you're concerned about, you're missing the point. And I think we need to pivot and focus on the point, not the regurgitation. Like, did you learn the lesson from that story, or can you just tell me what happened in chapter 5? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So once,
Yep.
I think once, if we ever do make a kind of pivot like that, then we'll actually, start to remember the true value of all these old stories. But since I guess we're going to wrap this up now, but I really want to thank you for joining us today in the greenhouse, Luna.
Oh, thanks for having me.
We always have such an easy conversation, and even though the unexpected first hour of the show, I think some things were said that people can take some value from. It's good to have a perspective from somebody who I trust, who I know is telling the truth from their perspective, from that side of the world. And and I already told you that everybody in the greenhouse is sending you much love. They love when you come on the show, so you're welcome back anytime. And I think we should do this again sooner than later. And feel free to, at this point, if anybody needs to find you or wishes to get in touch with you or see your other work, where can they find you?
Oh, well, right now I'm just coming out of hibernation, I suppose you could call it.
Yeah.
Because for a year or so, I've had a lot of stuff happening in my life, and I just finished writing a story myself, and I'm trying to get that done. So where they could contact me at the moment, I don't know. I don't know. You'd have to tag Polly at the moment, and then I can set that up because I haven't been on YouTube for a while.
Yeah, you could tag me in Discord if you want to get in touch with Luna.
Yeah, that'd be a good. Discord's a good place to get in there. You go to Polly's place, and I'll check in there to see what's happening. So you can talk to me in there. We'll see what this year brings for everyone. I hope everyone has a good day, evening, or afternoon, whatever it is there. Love to you on this day. And I hope this year's what's the word? I was going to say profitable, but that's not the word I'm looking for. You know, when you complete things and you get that really good feeling.
Productive.
Productive, yes.
That's let's make this year productive. I think that's what we should all be focusing. Like, okay, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of shit that we can't control that's gonna happen. We all see it coming. Let's just pivot and be productive about it.
Yep.
And take some of these lessons from these old stories, because we can use them as tools. It's been an amazing show, Luna. Thank you so much for coming on. Everybody listening on groundzeroplus.com or TalkStream Live, thanks for tuning in, hanging out with me and Luna. We're going to have Luna back at some point, clearly. She's kind of been a regular guest since I started doing this kind of show. So, Luna, thanks again. And
thank you, Polly.
I can't wait to talk to you again.
Yep. I won't be far away.
What do they say? Yalu?
Yeah, Yalu.
Yeah,
Yalu. Yama is hello, and Yalu. It's not goodbye. It's more like see you next time.
Yeah.
Because we don't believe.
I like that.
You never ever say goodbye to anything. Things go on and on, just in different places. So, yep, Yalu, everyone. Take care, and until next time. Take care, Polly. Thank you again, and I'll go on to you later.
All right. Thanks, Luna. Bye, everybody. See you next... well, I'll see you tomorrow, actually, for Psychedelic Sunday. I almost said see you next week, but I'll be here tomorrow. Anyways, groundzeroplus.com, Polynation Broadcast. See you tomorrow, folks.